everybody. My name is Zandile Mkhwanazi, and I am one of the co-founders and CEO of GirlCode. So, welcome to my talk. I was a bit nervous. I was like, is it better if people don't show up, or if people show up? I don't know. But thank you for showing up and listening to what I have to say today. So, my talk is titled "You Are Who You Hire." By a quick show of hands, how many of you here have been interviewed by an all-male panel for a job? Okay, right? So that's most of us. A quick anecdote. I've only ever interviewed for 2 jobs in my whole career, and both of those, of course, were by male colleagues. White male colleagues, to be more specific, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But as soon as I walked into the interview, 2 things crossed my mind. One was, will I be able to relate to them? And will I feel like I belong in this environment? Because it became quite apparent that, and it was a tech startup, right? So it became apparent that there's a lot of males in this company. So one thing I want to say is that culture fit is not a bad thing, but it can also be synonymous with we only hire people who look, act, and think like us. This is going to be tricky, guys, so please bear with me, like the operating of this thing. Okay, so gender bias in hiring, right? These are some of the stats provided by the World Economic Forum, McKinsey's report. There's a lot out there. Female candidates generally are 30% less likely to get job interview, even with identical qualifications as male counterparts. In fact, there is someone in the United States who just changed her name on the CV, applied to the same companies, and suddenly was called for interviews. That is the reality that we live in. In 2023, 38% of job positions in tech exclusively invited male applicants to interviews. So this already indicates that there is a significant bias towards who people want to interview for these jobs. Women receive an average of 20% more questions during an interview and are given 25% less time to answer those questions, especially by male interviewers. And research from Sweden also indicates that male recruiters contact male applicants more than they contact female applicants. So again, if you're walking into a room, someone like me, and it's an all-male panel, and you're thinking, is this the place for me? Chances are your answer is no. And although it's not all doom and gloom, we'll come back to this point a bit later on. So now I want you to raise your hand if the current team that you are part of is not all, but majority males in the dev team. Again, a majority, right? So one of the things that a lot of hiring teams or hiring managers say is we are looking for someone who will be a great fit for our team or culture. And I've asked myself, what does that really mean? Does it mean we want people who look exactly like us, who talk like us, who think like us? Is that good for building any type of company? Deloitte estimates that in 2022, women accounted for less than 1/3 of the total workforce, the total tech workforce, and a mere 25% of technical roles at large tech companies like Meta, like Google, are women. 13% in South Africa of STEM graduates are women, and 39% of all ICT employees are women. So already we can see from this that the gender imbalance is clear, and frankly, it's really unacceptable. So here's the challenge for everybody, right? The biggest challenge is there is currently a narrow lens when you think about the tech environment. Good ideas can turn really bad when the people that are building these good ideas only look a certain way. In 2014, I'm sure maybe some of you here know about this, Amazon developed an AI recruitment platform. Great. Right? Because they wanted diversity and they wanted more hiring of different people, and they thought AI can do the job. The only problem is the people that built the AI algorithm and the data that they fed it was from the engineers that already worked at Amazon. And who are those engineers? Males, right? So of course, whenever a female or anybody else submitted a CV, the algorithm flagged it and said, nope, not a culture fit, right? So, and that was quickly scrapped from the market. Another example is Google, which also made headlines in 2015 when they created an image recognition technology where when people searched for gorillas, it returned black people. And again, who are the people that built the data and fed the data? It was a team, and not that they were racist or anything. They were using the data that they are surrounded with, that they are familiar with, which is data of people that looked like themselves. So these are some of the dangers of what can happen when you only have one type of group of people building software that we all are supposed to be using. So what is the solution, right? One is we need to start examining our hiring practices. This is more for the HR teams, but even individuals that are part of teams, right? How diverse are your hiring panels? You can't have one particular group deciding who comes in. Naturally, and as human beings, that's how we are. We gravitate to what feels familiar, what looks familiar. So you'll always feel like someone that looks like you, comes from a similar background, is more of a culture fit than someone that comes from a completely, totally different background than yourself. Are your job descriptions inclusive? One of the things that we've seen in trying to get more young girls and women into the tech industry is job descriptions in tech companies where they say beer and pizza Friday as a benefit. I'm like, okay, that's all good, but that doesn't really invite me into the environment. I don't want beer and pizza on my Friday. Right? And not to say that you shouldn't have beer and pizza on Friday, but make it more inclusive. Maybe add in wine then, maybe, I'll come and join. So really looking at your job description and how inclusive, and the so-called benefits and the culture. Are you actively seeking out talent from diverse pipelines, or relying on the same networks that have historically produced the same homogeneous teams? Again, we work with a lot of tech companies, and we've seen that there is a comfort in going to where you've always gone to get talent. And a lot of companies are reluctant to look at alternatives. One of the things that we have seen in working with young women, especially young women coming from previously disadvantaged communities, is yes, their technical competency might not be where you want it to be. Yes, they didn't go to WITS, UCT, all the top universities. By the way, I went to WITS, so if you're a WITSy, shout out. But that doesn't mean that someone who went to the University of Limpopo or any other of these universities doesn't deserve an opportunity or is not capable of actually contributing to the teams. Number 2, fostering an inclusive culture. Hiring women is only the first step, right? So great, you've gotten them into the organization. What then? How do you make sure that they stay in the organization, that they thrive in the organization and grow in it? One of the things that we've also seen is that companies that create spaces where women can have women in tech forums, can voice their opinions, can contribute to how the company grows, those are the companies that really do well. Especially companies that have programs like mentorship. It is such a big thing. In a world where representation matters, we've seen that if you don't have somebody to look up to, you'll quickly feel like this is not a space that I belong in. So mentorship programs in companies really do work, and you don't necessarily also have to be mentored by another woman. Even mentorship from our male counterparts, from our allies, can really support women to stay in the company and grow in the company. Being able to identify systematic barriers and dismantling them is how you make sure that you retain female talent. Thirdly, invest in human capital and not just code. So beyond the technical skills, one of the things is, as women, right, we love community. We love supporting each other. So making sure that there are opportunities within the company for women to be part of, whether it's GirlCode, Women in Tech, whatever it is, but supporting them and making it feel like this is part of the company. We support such initiatives and not necessarily just saying if you want to be in a community, you can go ahead and do it by yourself. So going back to my anecdote of the company that the two companies that I interviewed at, the one company is where I started my career. And I worked closely with the MD, who's also the founder, and he was very supportive. We often brainstormed new applications, new products that we wanted to do. And one of the things that I really, really love about working at that company is that my voice was heard. And when I challenged them and said, we don't have enough women in this company, there was only 3 of us and like 17 men, he didn't dismiss it and say, well, it is what it is. He challenged me and said, okay, what can we do about it? And that is essentially how I started GirlCode, right? I said to him, cool, how about we have a hackathon with just women and use that hackathon to recruit more women? And he's like, great, what do you need? Gave me the financial support, encouraged everybody else, including the males in the team, to support the initiative. And that is in 2014, we had the first hackathon. From that hackathon, we essentially hired 6 female interns into the organization. And that is what we talk about when we're saying being in a space where you are valued, where your opinion is heard, and the company genuinely wants to improve and make sure that they're building a more diverse and inclusive workforce. The second company, so I decided to leave that company, of course, for growth and career progression. I went to another tech organization, which was much bigger than the startup. And again, interviewed by males, it's great, loved working with them, suggested, same thing, look, our team, we don't have enough women, let's do something about it. And the difference here is with the second company, the team lead, he said to me, no, that's not our problem, right? That's an HR problem. We don't have time to do that, let's do our work and that's it. And what happened? I left. Because I didn't feel like this is a space where I can grow. This is a space where I can provide feedback and also input into how the organization can do better. So this leads me to where we are right now as an organization. We've built a platform that we believe can help other companies in terms of making sure that they improve on their diversity and inclusion agenda. We've built GirlCode Talent, where we have various women from graduates to senior that can be sourced through our AI matching algorithm. And I know I just gave examples of what happened with the Amazon AI matching algorithm. But the key thing here is that this particular platform obviously is focused on women from all different spectrums. And the idea is that companies can get on the platform and know that they can source talent, but also they can source talent that is vetted, that is culture fit, and also that can help in terms of improving their diversity and equity. So this really isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about building better products and more profitable companies. Sorry, this is like too much multitasking for me. I know women are supposed to be good at multitasking, but the multiple screens, yeah, it's a lot. So to be clear, like I was saying, this isn't about doing the right thing. It's really about building better products and stronger companies. Research has proven time and time again that varied perspectives build better, more inclusive products and solutions. And when technology reflects the diversity of our users, then outcomes improve for everybody that's involved, including the company. So this is our call to action, right? There's 2 images that you see in front of you. So look around you. Look at your teams. Which of these images represent how your current teams look like? not how you want it to look like when you're posting on International Women's Day. Because I know a lot of companies like to post on international and will grab the two women and post them, right? So you really need to think about how does our team composition look like? And think about what do we need to do to make sure that we are creating a company and a culture where women feel like they can belong, women feel like they can come and participate. Because honestly, diverse perspective mean that you can build better products. You can build products that you didn't even think of, because different people bring their own unique lived experiences. My talk is around you are who you hire. Not who you say you are on social media, but the people that are currently in your company. The choices that you make today in your recruitment, in your retention strategies, and your company culture will determine the future of your organization, and indeed the future of technology itself. A lot of companies talk about how important diversity is to them, how important that women feel included, and that they want more women to be in the company, but they're just not finding them. And we've been able to show that that's not true. There are a lot of women out there. There are a lot of women that are not in the system, that are not in companies and are looking for opportunities. And unfortunately, these women don't look like how you currently hire, and that is why you are not finding them. And that is why organizations like ours, GirlCode, exist to make sure that we bring visibility and we give them the opportunity to get their first step into the company and into the tech industry. So if you are part of a company, of a team where, to my right, to your left, where there aren't many women, then here's some homework for you, right? After this particular talk, I want you to set up a call with the GirlCode team so that we can introduce you to GirlCode Talent and you can get more women in your teams. Secondly, it is very important that you speak up and hold leadership accountable. It's not very easy, right? I've come across many women that always say, I'm the only one in the company, I don't know what to do. And I'll give you an example. I have a friend who 15 plus years experience as a full stack software developer. She's always headhunted. Always, I'm trying to say, can I place you? Like, I'm happy where I am. But the company that she was working at or was headhunted into a few years back, tech startup, they promised her that, listen, yes, you are the only woman that will be in the team, you'll be the team lead, but you'll have an opportunity to grow the team and get more women into the organization. Perfect, that sounds great. It's a new role, it's a leadership role. I'll have an opportunity to actually make an impact and build a more inclusive team. She got into the company, the first year goes, nothing happens. And she's like, okay, guys, there's this organization. We can work with them. We can bring more women. Let's sponsor. Let's do all of these things. Let's do activations. Year 2, nothing happens. Year 3, she finally decides to leave the organization because after 3 years, she's still the only female in the whole team. And she's the team lead, but she doesn't have, or her voice is not being heard. And the leadership team is not really supporting her in terms of trying to attract or get more women. It's all about let's build, we'll get to the diversity part. But externally, on social media, they're always publishing and talking about how it's important that they have more women in the company. So she left the company. Of course, they tried to convince her otherwise and say, no, definitely this year is the year that things will change. But she's like, no. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, 3 times actually, 3 years that she spent there. So she's now in an organization, which is one of our partners, that really doesn't just talk diversity. They do it. And not just the company and the leadership, where the CEO, and actually, I think I can mention the company, it's Intellect, right? The CEO, Shashi, was part of our board. The team there, the individuals in the company, both the males and the females have actively mentored young girls from our programs. They've given up their weekends to come and teach coding at schools. So this is what we mean when we say that you have to actively make a decision that you want to see a change, that you want to see companies be more diverse, and that you want to see your own company be more diverse. And I take it that by being on this talk, this is something that also resonates as important to you. So we need to hold ourselves accountable, right? You are who you hire. The teams we build, the perspectives we prioritize, and the voices that we amplify directly shape the technology that defines our world. And if we don't hold ourselves accountable as individuals and keep track of the progress, then there is no shift. We will be talking about this 10 years from now. And one of the things that people always ask me is, what do you want GirlCode to be in the next 10, 20 years? And I always say, I don't want GirlCode to exist. That is what I'm working towards. I'm working towards a world where we have equal opportunity, whether you're a male, whether you're a female, or whatever you identify with. But we know that based on meritocracy, you can get in. That is unfortunately not the current world that we live in, but that is the world that I work and strive towards as someone who is leading GirlCode. So let's move beyond conversations and into concrete action. Let's build truly inclusive tech by making sure that it is a representation of the inclusive world that we live in. So this is my QR code. You can whip out your phones, just connect with me on social media. If you are someone that wants to see really companies change and bring more diversity, I'm happy to have conversations. I'm happy to see how I can assist and how we can get more girls. If you're someone in your own individual capacity that wants to give back, that wants to make sure that you're mentoring the next generation of innovators, of young women that are going to build the next tech, the next big thing, because they're going to be building it from their lived reality, then please do connect with me. Thank you so much. That's it for me today.